we'll go over that first, and then we'll get into the other stuff, and then we'll do all that. Having a little issue here, so I apologize if I cut in and out. I don't know what's going on. I'm not a tech person. But like I said, it's a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're getting ready for the work week. Hope it's not too crazy and you had some time to relax and hang out with people. We'll talk about that later on. But for right now, let's do this, get into it. I don't know if you've heard about this. Trump and Putin to meet in Alaska for Ukraine talks next week, which would be this week. Got my handy dandy notes right here. We'll meet in Alaska next Friday, this coming Friday, to discuss the future of the war in Ukraine. Trump announced on August 15th on social media that they would be meeting. And they said they would. Alaska is quite logical given the proximity to Russia. President Zelensky said any solutions must include Ukraine, adding he is ready to work with all partners towards a lasting peace. The announcement of this meeting came just hours after Trump had signaled Ukraine might have to cede territory in order to end the war, which began with Russia's full-scale invasion of its neighbor in 2022. That's been going on 3 years. I didn't realize it was that long. That's a long time. So, being perfectly honest, the only reason Ukraine's still in the war is because we've been funding it. If we hadn't funded it, it would be over. Would have been over that year. I don't think it would have lasted that long. And everybody's worried now that if the Russians get Ukraine, they're going to move back and try to get everything else back. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again: they are so financially depleted after this. Their resources are depleted. We got nothing to worry about them for decades. They're so beaten up that I'm not worried about it. I don't think you should be there. Again, China's who we need to be watching, not Russia. They're not going to be a threat. So that's good that at least they're going to be talking. So that's good. Maybe that'll end and we can stop sending them money and equipment and take care of our own people for a while. Who knows? Who knows how that'll go? But it is what it is. So we'll find out soon enough. This coming Friday, they're going to talk. Who knows how? It might be a day talk. It could be a couple days. Who knows? I'm sure it'll be more than a couple hours. I hope it's more than a couple hours. If it's only a couple hours, then definitely nothing's going to change. Again, it's just my opinion. The Trump administration has cut, $584 million from UCLA's budget over their anti-Semitism. If you remember, they had you can see the moron with the kaif on, or how you pronounce it, not letting Jewish students go to class. They had sit-ins. They took over buildings. I mean, it was pretty much they let the children run the school. And the thing is, these people pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to school, whether you're Jewish or Christian or whatever. You all pay to go. They pay to go there, and then they weren't letting Jewish students go to school class, and the administration really did nothing about it. They were afraid, scared, or worried about lawsuits. But guess what? Now they just lost $584 million, and they're probably getting sued by the parents or some of these Jewish students. And I hope so. I hope they get sued into the ground. You don't make people pay to be somewhere and then not let them go to the class, or sit back and not do anything when they're told they can't go to class by other students, by other moron students who think defending a terrorist organization is a good cause. That just shows you that you're probably sending your kid to the wrong school, and you should get them out of there and get a refund. Because obviously they aren't teaching anything that's useful. But $584 million, that's a lot of money. I hope that hurts. I hope that hurts that educational institution. I hope it hurts a lot. I hope they're reeling for a long time because of that. I don't understand they can call themselves higher learning when they allow crap like that to go on, and they refuse to stand up to racism, anti-Semitism, or racism of any kind. So I hope that $584 million hurts. I hope people lose their jobs over it. I hope I would like to see the school go away, but I don't think that's going to happen. They got donors and all that kind of stuff that'll keep them afloat, who are probably just as racist as the administration, but who cares? I wouldn't send, and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking college. College is good if that's the thing you want to do, but I'm a big proponent of trade schools. I think you should send your kids to trade schools. They can learn a useful skill that they can use immediately when they get out. They don't get out in as much debt, and there's always the demand for electricians and masons and carpenters and plumbers and everything. The trades are always in demand. You will never, ever not find work if you work with your hands. And when you get out, I think your debt's what, 30, 40 grand as opposed to like $200,000-$300,000. So yeah, there are much more benefits to a trade school than there are going to a higher learning educational college where they allow people to prevent people from going to class because of their religion. And that the administration does nothing. I guarantee you, though, that those Jewish students' families had to pay the bill when it was due immediately. I'm sure they weren't given some time to pay that bill. And that's what I would have done. I said, well, my son couldn't go to class for 6 months or however long they wouldn't let him go in there because of the moron people not letting him go. So that's how long I'm going to hold back the payment you're owed. However long my son missed is how long you're not going to get the payment. And I guarantee they'd be bringing him to court and suing him for all it. So it's a joke. It's not really about educating people at college at this point, especially UCLA. It's all about just the money. That's all they're worried about. They don't care if your kid learns anything as long as they get their money. Yeah, I'm drinking chocolate milk again. I don't know why I'm back on that kick. I don't know why. But I like chocolate milk. Yeah, it's probably not good for you though. Too sweet. But so yeah, that's what's going on. I file that under, the Foxtrot Alpha, Foxtrot Oscar. And if you're in the military, you know what that means. And if not, you probably can figure it out pretty quick. So yeah, and I hope that it's happened to Harvard, I think. They got hit with some fines or they lost some money, and some other Ivy League schools lost some money. That's great. I love to see it. I love to see it. Accountability is what we need. And with Trump in office, we're seeing some. And some is better than none. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. I'm happy to see it. It makes me feel good. So, we talked about that, and the first segment we're going to talk about is just about anti-Semitism and racism in Maryland. But like, again, if it's happening here, it's happening everywhere. And I know you're probably sick about hearing it, but it needs to be talked about because it hasn't gone away. It's gotten worse. Like I've said, unless we do something, it's going to get worse. So in Maryland, which is a dump state anyway, we have a spineless Republican Party that doesn't want to do anything, doesn't want to make waves. So this crap goes on and nothing's ever said about it. So the first mouth breather, the inbred mouth breather I want to talk about is this lovely, lovely specimen. Donna, and I can't even pronounce her name, and I don't care. She's an anti-Semite. Donna Kuzamachek, something like that. Just call her Jabba the Hutt. Apparently she's a Frederick City Council member. So I guess it's like an alderman or something. That's how unimportant she really is. But she's local politics in a city. And she wants to read a resolution into, I guess, the record calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. I think I have some notes about this asshole somewhere. Let me see if I can find him. If I don't, here we go. I do. So I have Frederick City Council member Donna Kuzamachek feels that she has to put forward a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and all regions receiving military aid from the U.S. Such a resolution has long been sought by groups in Frederick, like Justice in Palestine. There you go. Oh yeah, I heard about that, Dan. I was going to say something about that. By Justice in Palestine since 2023, following attacks on October 7th by Hamas militants that killed about 1,200 people in Israel. And she's going with the Hamas health ministry numbers, which everybody knows is bullshit because they don't distinguish between combatants and non-combatants. And they've already revised this number 3 or 4 times. Of course, she went with the highest number before the revisions. It says since then, over 60,000 Palestinians have been killed in the conflict, the Gaza Health Ministry said in late July. That's just like the SS. That's their ministry of propaganda. There's nothing honest about the Gaza Health Ministry, and that's who she's quoting. If that doesn't sum up how unintelligent and stupid she is, I don't know what else it'll take. She's quoting the health ministry on their numbers. I looked through Jabba the Hutt's Facebook page and all the other pages, and nowhere once did she want to make a resolution about October 7th condemning what happened. I guess she was stuffing her face with fucking subs, or she was too busy, watching soap operas. Who knows what she does in her off time? She's obviously not hurting for food, but she's hurting for education and intelligence because she supports Hamas and wants Israel to pay for what's going on. She's a local politician. I mean, by local, I mean city. So I don't know why she feels it's her place to say anything about international affairs. No one's going to listen to this shit staying anyway. But it's Frederick, Maryland. And if you know anything about Frederick, Maryland, if you live in Maryland or close to Maryland or close to Western Maryland, Frederick, Maryland is not known for its blazingly intelligent politicians. Most of them probably have a hard time putting their shoes on, let alone finding how to get to the meeting they're supposed to be at and be there in a timely fashion. It seems the only route Ms. Kuzmachek knows by heart is from her hand to her mouth. And yes, I'm making fun of her, and yes, I'm making this personal because she's an anti-Semite. People like this need to be ridiculed. They need to be insulted. They need to be marginalized. They need to be drawn out into the sunlight. They need to be pointed at and called what they are, a piece of shit anti-Semite. And everybody needs to say this. And if anybody at that on the council, when she tried to read this to the record, if they didn't tell her to shut up and go get something to eat because she looked hungry, they're just as racist as she is. I don't know why this is still going on. I don't know why. But then again, I know why it's loud in Frederick, because Frederick is nothing but a bunch of woke social justice. Look at me. I'm virtue signaling better than anybody else because of this. That's why it can be done in Frederick and Montgomery County, and I think maybe Howard County, not so much Carroll County, but here. And of course, yeah, she's a Democrat. Again, that kind of sums her up. But what really pisses me off about this is nobody in the Republican Party has stood up and said this is wrong, because they're all too busy flying to go to conventions and spend money that get donated to them and have parties. And they're not concerned about doing business in Maryland if they're a Republican Party, for the most part. Again, there are probably central committees in Republican clubs and other counties that really bust their ass and try to make a difference. In Frederick County, that's not so much the difference. That's not the thing for them. Their thing is parties and happy hours and going to conventions and collecting money. They haven't won a fucking election in years that I can count. They have nothing substantial. I don't know if y'all can see the chats, but there's Fred Profiter is here. He's the president of the only club in Frederick County that really tries to make a difference, and that's the Frederick County Conservative Club. They have organized trips to D.C. to support Trump. They have spoken. I'm going to read what Mr. Profiter read at this meeting when she spoke. They have made they've made the club very, very known, and they're very vocal with stuff they don't agree with, but they also support. It's a nonpartisan club, so if they're a Democrat that's smart, we would support them. I'm also the vice president, so I'm a little biased. But yeah, that's the only club, as far as I know, that showed up to say anything, and that doesn't surprise me. I don't think Frederick County Republicans even know there's a Republican club, let alone a Republican Central Committee here. They do very little to nothing. It's very incestuous. Most of the people who are on the committee have family members who are elected officials. So it's kind of like a snake eating its own tail. It serves no purpose except the people who are on it or have family members on it. I've never been impressed with what they've done. They've never, like I said, they haven't won anything notable in years. They're a joke. Literally, they are this is what passes for a politician in Frederick County. They don't fight it. I mean, she's like a target-rich environment. They should be all over this, but they're not, because that's just not what Frederick County Republicans do, because they're cowards. And if you can't tell, they probably don't like me. And if you can't tell, I probably don't give a shit. So this is what Fred Profiter, the president of the Frederick County Conservative Club, read at the council meeting when Jabba the Hutt spoke, or at the meeting where Jabba the Hutt was going to read into the record her resolution. So this is what Fred Profiter wrote. I find it curious, no disturbing, that Alderman Donna Kuzmachek, or just call her Jabba the Hutt, chose to write a declaration of support for Gaza after the world witnessed unspeakable atrocities on October 7th, 2023. After Hamas terrorists brutally murdered, over 1,200 innocent people in Israel, and after we saw video footage of Avatar David, a young man forced to dig his own grave only to be executed like an animal. That's when Jabba the Hutt decided to speak up, not in condemnation of evil, but in solidarity with Gaza. Let me be clear. This isn't about politics. It's about moral clarity. Every public servant, every decent human being should have been able to say loudly, without hesitation, that what Hamas did was terrorism. It was barbarism, and it deserved total and public rejection. Instead, we get a statement that tried to both sides a massacre. That is not leadership. This is moral confusion at best and complicity at worst. And the irony is this: the same alderman who had no issue removing the bust of Justice Roger Taney from City Hall because history offended her, now suddenly finds herself unable to offend those who justify the murder of Jews. She wants to erase the past here in Frederick while excusing brutality happening in the present across the world. What message is this sent to our Jewish neighbors, to veterans who fought terrorism abroad, to citizens who still believe there's a line between good and evil? Jabba the Hutt's actions show a disturbing pattern. Prioritize virtue signaling over principle, political correctness over courage, and selective outrage over universal truth. If you can't speak out against terrorists who kidnap, torture, rape, and murder civilians, what do you stand for? I urge this council and the citizens of Frederick to remember what leadership actually looks like. It looks like clarity. It looks like courage, and it looks nothing like what we've seen from Jabba the Hutt. And again, that was from Fred Profiter, the Frederick County Conservative Club's president, speaking at the council meeting when Jabba the Hutt was going to read her ceasefire resolution into the record, while remaining silent about October 7th. Fred just said her declaration failed. I'll put it up here. Her declaration failed to pass the solid Democrat council. That's awesome. So not all Democrats are idiots. We can say that now. Jabba the Hutt apparently is the king idiot. If she can't read the room, then again, this wasn't done because that's how she truly feels. She did this because, like Fred Profiter said, she's pandering and she's trying to virtue signal. That's it. She doesn't really believe what she says. She knows there's enough people out there that go, "Oh yeah, great!" Like the Justice for Palestine sympathizers in Frederick will side with her and they'll vote for her. Now they're going to support her because she came out and read a resolution saying, "Hey, no one's really to blame for what's going on there, but there needs to be a ceasefire." Sorry. So that's why she did it. She lacks the courage of her convictions. This is all done just to make herself look good. So if you live near Jabba the Hutt, or if you see her on the streets, do me a favor, give her the finger and call her a fat, racist piece of shit, and don't vote for her. And if you vote for her, you know exactly how I feel about you. I just told you, you're a racist, and there's no place for you in civilized society. It's almost like people don't care anymore. It's like, oh, like he said in his I don't want to call it a speech, but his presentation to the council, right is right and wrong is wrong. And that's all that should matter. It shouldn't be political. If someone is raped, murdered, and killed, that's wrong. End of discussion. There's no ambiguity. There's no middle ground. There's no gray area. That is wrong. And the person that murder, rapes, and kills is wrong. They deserve no support. They deserve to be condemned and imprisoned or executed. End of story. She's trying to find middle ground, like I said, because she's pandering for votes, because she really doesn't believe anything she says. And if she does, she's a bigger piece of shit than I think. I'm hoping this is done just to pander to votes and to acquiesce to the terrorist sympathizing crowd in Frederick County, Maryland. I hope her heart's not in it. But if it is, I wish her nothing but explosive diarrhea and a bad cough stuck in traffic in her car on a hot day in August. That's the best I can wish for her. But it's not just her. It's in the school systems. Anti-Semitism is in the school systems. I remember in Frederick County, 2 or 3 years ago, I believe, there's a school called Thomas Johnson High, and I guess they were doing a section on World War II, and one of the teachers in the class had hung the swastika flag in his class and saw nothing wrong with it. People were defending it, saying that's how you teach history. So my question to them was, okay, so when they teach about, the 30s and 40s during the biggest part of racism, is it okay if the teacher burns a cross? Or if he wears a Klan outfit to class because he's just trying to teach history? And of course, that's wrong. That they can't do. That's offensive, and it brings back bad memories. But the swastika is fine, because without that, you can't teach anybody about World War II. They don't understand how bad the Nazis were. I mean, you have to. Apparently, you don't have a flag, you can't teach about World War II. So anti-Semitism is acceptable. People really don't see it as offensive. They don't see it as like, oh, that's wrong. We shouldn't do that. We're just hanging a swastika flag because, hey, we're just trying to teach about World War II. We really don't mean it, but we're going to keep it flying. But no, we can't burn a cross, or no, you can't wear a clown outfit into the class when you're teaching about, segregation in the South and all that horrible stuff that happened here. Can't do that. But go ahead and fly the swastika flag because it's educational. It's acceptable. Again, in Baltimore County schools, Baltimore schools face investigation over anti-Semitism allegations. It's not. It's, from what I understand, it's no longer an allegation. It's actually happened. And let me see if I can find that one on air. Looking. Okay, there's a school in Baltimore City. Apparently, the teacher was doing the Sig Heil to a Jewish student, and the student told the school with the parents. The school was aware about the teacher doing that, and nothing happened to the teacher, because that, like I said, anti-Semitism is acceptable. It doesn't, because let's be honest, most Jewish people are white, so a lot of people think you can't be racist to white people, so it's acceptable to be anti-Semitic. It's not, of course. Any type of racism is horrible, and usually most racists, including anti-Semites, are very unintelligent people because they believe in like group thought, like all people that are Jewish are this, or all people that are black are this, or all people that are Asian are this. They don't have the intelligence to separate people into individuals. It has to be groups, because their pea brain can't accept the fact that just because one person is this doesn't mean the rest of the people are like that. Again, when you're in school, like we said, like up here, it's not just happening in high schools, it's happening in colleges. It's happening everywhere at places that are considered institutions of learning. These are what teachers are teaching students. If they're not teaching them this, they're teaching that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and boys that think they're girls can use a girls' bathroom in the girls' locker room, they can play in girls' sports, that it's okay to be anti-Semitic. All these things are teaching in public schools. That's why I tell everybody, if you can, homeschool. Get your kids out of school and homeschool. That's the only way you're going to know that they're learning something that's useful and they're not being indoctrinated into thinking all the stuff I just talked about. Schools are a breeding ground for this crap. Always have been and always will be. And nothing is done about it. And why is that? There you go. Teachers' unions are the new, like, Third Reich. That's what it is. Teachers' union protects this. They breed it. They encourage it. And I don't care if you have teachers that go, no, it's not true. It is. I'm just giving you two examples. And if I spend a whole hour on this, I could give you like hundreds and thousands of examples where shit like this goes on in schools. So it's not just a one-off thing. It happens. We know it happens. It's in the news. We hear people talking about it. We see it. Teacher unions are predominantly, and there's exceptions to the rules, are predominantly Democrat. I think they've, over the last few elections, they've donated like 90% to Democrat candidates and like 5 to 10% to Republican candidates, if that. They are not about anything other than hating America and hating everybody. They hate everybody. And they teach that to your kids. They openly teach that to your kids. And we still send them to public schools. And our tax dollars pay for that to happen. And like I said, they're going to make a stink about it. I'm sure there'll be hearings. Again, my favorite thing, hearings in D.C., where they all sit around and scream and yell and point fingers and accuse this person of that and that person of this. And we're going to change this and we're going to do that and yada, 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 and nothing ever comes of it. Pull your kids out of public schools. And I know people say, well, I can't do that. I got to work. Where there's a will, there's a way. If that's something you really want to do, you'll find a way to make it work. Like I've said before, there are communities that have like homeschool schools where parents take turns and the kids come to their house or wherever it is they do, and they have their school there. They even hire teachers who've quit the public school system because they agree that it's trash, not teaching their kids things, and they take the curriculum from the parents, and that's what they teach. They're everywhere. Look into that. See if you can find that and get your kid into that. Studies show homeschool kids do better on tests and do better in college and are more well-rounded and more adjusted, or everything. If you don't believe me, look it up yourself. I'm not lying to you. Trust me, I'm not lying to you. But anti-Semitism is not just there. At Naismith School in Virginia, three Jewish siblings were expelled after their parents notified the headmaster about the relentless anti-Semitic bullying they faced by one of the daughters. Concord Carlisle High School in Massachusetts, students gave Nazi salutes in school hallways, divided themselves into teams called Team Auschwitz and Team Hamas during athletic games, drew swastikas in notebooks and on school property, and told Jewish students to go to the gas chamber. That's acceptable behavior now towards Jewish people. When I was in school, if you said that to me, you caught a punch in the mouth. And not just me, the other Jewish kids, we didn't take that. But now, with zero tolerance policies in all schools, which help the bully, not the victim, you can't do that. You got to stand there and take it and hope that the teacher that you tell isn't like Jabba the Hutt and is anti-Semitic as well and doesn't care. Take him to court. Well, you take him to court, but most of these judges were appointed by the Biden administration. They're all liberals and they don't give a shit. There has to be a breaking point. There has to be a point where the people with common sense, which more often than not are conservatives and Republicans, get to a point where we've had enough. Like this is no more. Pull our kids out of public schools, stop funding public education, homeschool, and then stand up to trash like this, like to trash in your local government like this turd. And stop voting for people like this. Stop voting for people like this and then wondering, geez, why is my city, state, county, town, country in such piss poor shape? Because we vote for trash like this. We put trash like this in office, and trash begets trash begets trash. It doesn't get better. You give these people a little bit of power and it goes right to their head, and they just spew their bullshit. Not just anti-Semitic bullshit. They're gender fluidity bullshit. They're pro-transgender bullshit. They're crap that boys could be girls. And like I said, they just spew it out. And then there are people who applaud it. Yeah, that's great. And again, those people need to be ostracized from decent society. Anybody who agrees with any of this or thinks there should be resolutions condemning Israel for defending themselves or agrees with any of that gender crap needs to be, number one, removed as far away from children as they can be because they have no business being around children, raising children, or teaching children. None at all. And those children need to be put into an environment where they're taught, like Martin Luther King said, you don't judge somebody by the way they look. You judge them by the way they act. That's it. Who cares how they look? Who cares what religion they are? You judge them based on their actions and the individual. Liberals like boxing people. That makes it easier to control if you can put everybody in a box. So that's what they do. But this is not going to get any better. It's not. It's only going to get worse. And it's going to spread. It's going to leave the schools. It's going to start going into workplaces. It's going to go into everyday life. It's going to be everywhere. We, conservatives and Republicans and independents, need to say enough's enough. We need to push back just as hard as they're pushing this crap onto us and our kids. That's it. There's no other explanation. There's no other way to do it. Push back. Or this is going to get worse. And it has. And I've been saying that for months. This is only going to get worse. And it has. It hasn't gotten any better. There's been no relief. And everybody goes, well, Trump's going to change everything. Trump is one man. He's fighting his own party most of the time. There's only so much one man can do. And I'm not saying he's not making strides. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is we can't put everything on one person and go, here you go, take care of our problems. Thank you. And then walk away. It's not how it works in the real world. It's that simple. He needs help. He needs us backing up his play. And I don't know if that's happening enough. I mean, obviously it's not. This crap's going on in schools. I mean, can you imagine being a Jewish kid? And in your school, they're breaking into teams called Team Auschwitz and Team Hamas. Right off the bat, you can just tell you're not included in anything. They're not involving you, the other students. And if you're doing this, that means the school knows, and they're really not getting involved either, because you know what? It's only, it's not such a big deal. They'll get over it. It's just a phase. They're drawing swastikas on notebooks. And they're telling Jewish students to go to the gas chamber. They're telling kids, go to the gas chamber. And let's be honest. If these were Muslim students and people were saying things to them that were anti-Muslim, this would be all over the news. Those students and teachers would be fired or expelled, and there'd be public apologies. Tell me I'm wrong. Convince me I'm wrong. There's a chat here. Put it in chat that I'm wrong and explain to me how I'm wrong. If you tear down an LGBTQ 3794 waffle flag, you can be charged with a hate crime. But I can draw swastikas and tell Jewish kids to go to the gas chamber, and that's acceptable. What kind of world are we living in where that crap is acceptable? How far down the toilet have we gone as a society where this is acceptable? 6 million people lost their lives. At least 6 million people lost their lives to trash like this. And I'm not calling the kids trash. I'm talking about their actions. Their actions are trashy. You can almost forgive a kid. Maybe they're learning this at home. This thing you can't forgive. This fat, dumb, knuckle-dragging mouth breather who probably smells like stale Doritos, cat piss, and shame cannot be forgiven. She's an adult and she knows better. And she's using her position, as little and tiny and insignificant as it is, to peddle anti-Semitism. She should be ashamed of herself. She should not be forgiven, and she should be voted out immediately. But that won't happen because there's more subhuman knuckle draggers that vote than anybody else. If we could all just turn out locally as much as we turned out for Trump, things would be different. All politics are local. Local politics affect you more than federal politics. You need to remember that when you vote. And more importantly, remember the Board of Education in your area is probably the most important election there ever is. Because you see what's going on at the schools. Something's got to be done about it. Always vote for the most conservative candidate that's running. I don't know. If you agree with me, let me know. If you don't agree with me, let me know. But I want to get to a point. I want there to be a day that I don't have to talk about anti-Semitism anymore. Trust me, it hurts my heart to talk about it all the time. It bothers me to read things like this. To know that there are kids being told to go to the gas chamber. And that nothing happens to the people that do this. That teachers do it and nothing happens to them. Nothing. We'll be right back.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
So, Again, I'm Seth Eisenberg. This is Conservative Corner. Sunday about 7:30. We just got done talking about local stuff because that's where I live in Frederick, Maryland. Just about local idiots, and now I'm going to move on to national idiots because these people need to be called out. I mean, I don't know why they're not called out more, and I'm sure they are. I'm just not hearing about it or seeing it. But this segment is called Crocko Shit, and you're about to see why. There you go. That's why this segment is called Crock of Shit. This lovely, lovely human being, if you don't know, is called Jasmine Crockett. She is a Dallas congresswoman who apparently acts like she's ghetto, but is supposed to be very well educated. Well, we've seen what public education, higher education teaches you, but she has a college degree and she acts like she's down on the corner because apparently she thinks everybody of color is ignorant and they all act like her, which, as we all know, again, makes you stupid if you think one person defines an entire group of people. She does. She doesn't see people as individuals. She sees them as groups because, again, her mind can't comprehend that people can be different. She's not that smart. She said some pretty racist things. She called Trump an orangutan or a monkey. Several other things. Again, if someone had called her a monkey or an orangutan, they'd be strung up and run out of town on a rail and forced to publicly apologize and called all sorts of horrible things. But she can because, she's a black woman, so that she can pretty much say and do what she wants to do about anything. And it's just supposed to be acceptable. Jasmine, not Davy Crockett. Well, that's a polite way of putting it. I just call her Jasmine Crockett shit. But that's just me. She's also referred to Texas Governor Abbott as Hot Wheels. And if you're not familiar with that, he's in a wheelchair. So she referred to him as Hot Wheels. She's just not a pleasant person. Trump has referred to her as a lowlife and a very low IQ person. And based on what she says, you can't argue with that. I mean, she's making fun of a handicapped man. Makes you a lowlife. The way she talks and sounds, very low IQ person. She doesn't make any rational arguments. She just insults and attacks. And that's my job. That's what I do. But I'm also not an elected official living on the government tit trying to represent my constituents. She is. I'm allowed to do that. She's not. She should be constructive, not destructive. And she's very destructive. And she'll get reelected. Again, we're going back to like that moron in Frederick County, the Job of the Hut. Going back to this idiot. Where is she? This moron. Elected. Not very intelligent, low IQ, low life, dumb, mouth-breathing knuckle dragger. No different than her. But these people get elected because they appeal to the lowest common denominator. And we all know that's stupid. There's a lot of stupid people out there. And these people appeal to them. So us smart people, and I firmly believe smart people outnumber dumb people. I truly believe that in my heart. There are more intelligent people in this world than there are dumb people. We just got to mobilize the smart people and start voting. That's the only way we're going to change anything, is if we get out and vote. Be just as loud as the idiots. And we can be just as loud because we have something to say. We have facts, stats, not just emotions and feelings behind what we say. We speak truth. They speak their truth. They think there's something actually called their truth. Not just the truth, their truth. There's a difference, apparently. The real truth doesn't match their truth because their truth is more. They've tried to explain it before, and I just don't get it, don't understand them. And I'm really not trying to understand them. They're very simple to understand. They're stupid, hateful, shallow, lonely, miserable human beings. And they want to make the entire world like that. Miserable and angry all the time. That's how they They live their lives. This came out. Crock full of it is no-show balls from hell who terrorizes staffers. Aides say all diva, no wow. Crockett is not often found at her government-provided suite in the Longworth House office building, with one insider saying she prefers to work from her nearby luxury apartment building, sometimes for weeks on end. She's laying around her apartment, won't come into the office, and is just really indifferent to staff and will scream at them, a former aide said. She's never in the office and is very disengaged. She does her bullshit, then goes viral, and then freaks out over the most random things. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, most of the people who are like her are like that because they're very insecure people. So they lash out and they attack people. They make fun of handicapped people. They make racist statements about people because they're very insecure about themselves. And I'm not just saying that; it's a fact. You probably work for people like that who are very condescending or try to act like they're a Billy Badass and try to be intimidating or act like they're indifferent. They're very insecure in who they are and they're insecure in their position. That's why they act like that. That's why she acts like that, because she's very insecure in who and what she is. So the way she makes up for that is she acts the fool. Again, makes fun of handicapped people, makes fun of the president, makes racist statements. If anybody else made about her, would be met with, oohs and ahs and you should be fired, you need to apologize. But she can do it because she's she. It's that simple. I mean, she called a handicapped man Hot Wheels. If a Republican did that, it'd be in the news forever. Forever. It would be on every cycle for weeks until something happened. They'd be calling, the libs would be calling for like violence against that person, like they always do when things happen. It's always their answer to everything is violence. Violence. Attack this person. Republicans don't do that, and I don't think we ever should. But we need to start pushing back, like I said, because people like this will continually get elected over and over and over. And then some people will say, hey, we need to get term limits to get people like, Crock of shit and get this other tub of lard out of office. We'd have, term limits. Well, there are term limits. It's called election day. We can vote people out of office. And to do that, you need to have a strong party. In Maryland, we don't have a strong Republican Party. I've never had one. In your state, maybe it's strong. If it is, and you actually see them trying to do things to better the Republican Party, get involved. Join that club. Door knock for candidates so people like her and the other moron don't get elected. Get out there. Work with your candidates. Door knock. Hand out information. Do what you got to do. We need to stop sitting on the sidelines and wait for somebody else to do it, because that's never going to happen. We have to be the ones that do it. And I hate sounding like a cliche, but be the change in the world that you want to see. And that's the most truest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's the truth. If you want something to happen, then you need to do it. Be the catalyst. Start that ball. Get it rolling. Talk to your neighbors. Anything to get this back on track. And like I said, can't depend on Trump. And I don't mean that negative. I mean, he's one guy. How much can he really do? I mean, really, how much can one man do when he's fighting his own party, fighting the Democrats, dealing with the crap from people like this moron, Crockett? He's got 25 balls in the air. We can't lay it all at his feet and then go fix it. We need to help. We need to be involved. And that's how I just told you how to be involved. Join clubs, join your county or the central committee in your state, county, town, or city. Be involved. Know what's going on. That is the best way. Knowledge is the best way. Know what's happening, who's doing what, and in what party or what position these people hold, and then hold their feet to the fire once they get elected. Just because someone runs on a conservative platform or Republican platform doesn't mean it's true. Again, judge them by their actions. Once they get into office, are they really doing what they said they were going to do? If not, hold them accountable. Call them out publicly. Go to the meetings and call them out. We got to stop sitting back and going, oh, well, it could be worse. No, it can't. That's what's in. 200 days of amazing winning. And like I said, I agree, Trump is doing a lot, but we just can't put it all at his feet. It's not fair to him. It's unrealistic expectation of one person to fix everything with no help. We have to help. Now, let me caveat that by saying this. There's been talk about him running for a third term, and I will go on record now saying while I support Trump while he's in office, I think he's doing a lot more than any president before him. I do not and will not support him running for a third term. It's against the Constitution. End of that. Unless there's an amendment to the Constitution that would allow for that, I do not support that. And that doesn't mean I don't think he's a good guy or a great president. That just means I think the Constitution is more important than him. There, I said it. People can leave and stop following me. I don't know. That's just how I feel. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. While I support him when he's in, I will not support a third term. If he wants to run for another elected position, congressman, senator, governor, so be it. But president is off the table. We can only do 2 terms, and that's it. And the reason behind that is great. We don't want to have a royalty in this country. We don't want to have a king. You don't get to rule for life. It's not divine right. And I'm sure the 30 people that watch me, I'll probably lose 10 of them. But one thing you can't say is I'm not honest. I am very honest. Support him while he's there, support him when he's in his term, but when it's done, he's got to go. And I don't think he's serious about I'm going to run for a third term. I really don't. I hope with every fiber of my being that was just an off-cuff remark. He didn't mean it. It was just something he said, and move on. But we don't have to worry about that now. We got 3.5 years or 3.25 years before it's even an issue. So let's just enjoy what's going on now and ride this wave. But yeah, so we got Jasmine Crockett, who apparently is just a trashy human being, mistreats her employees or staff members. What'd they say? Barely comes into the office, lays around her apartment, indifferent to staff, will scream at them. She's very disengaged. And then she freaks out over the most random things. I can look at her and say that I can see that happening. That's not a stretch. I believe that. I don't think anyone's making anything up. I think that's God honest. And I can see her doing it. She looks like that kind of person. I mean, let me put this page up here again. You can see it. She's just one of those people that thinks she's more important than anybody else in the room. She probably has a huge sense of entitlement, and just has to be the center of attention. And if she's not, she gets offended and gets nasty and belittles people around her. I can look at her and tell that she does that. I really, really can. And that's sad because the people that voted for her didn't know that or don't care to know that. And they're going to vote for her again. They're going to put her back in office again. I mean, we can hope that she doesn't. We hope that maybe the people in her district go, hey, she's a real idiot. I'm not voting for her again. But something tells me, just like when Biden won the election, people didn't vote for Biden. They voted against Trump. There's a big difference. You could have put a soup can up and people had so much TDS, they'd have voted for the soup can. Not because they agree with the soup can, but because it wasn't Trump. That's how Biden got in office. I don't know why he thinks he was elected. Trump was voted out. That was all that there was. He didn't win. He was the only choice. They're like, okay, go with that moron. So yeah, we got these politicians, Jasmine Crockett, just embarrassing to the country. They say Trump's embarrassing. She's embarrassing, making fun of handicapped people, like flat out making fun of handicapped people, making racist statements that nobody else can make, but it's acceptable. That's what's embarrassing. That's what embarrasses me. Not alligator Alcatraz. That doesn't embarrass me. It's a prison. Prison's not supposed to be pleasant. People are pooping where they brush their teeth. How big is your goddamn bathroom? Is it like 13,000 square feet? Pretty much everybody in the known world that has indoor plumbing, unless you're a millionaire, you pretty much are brushing your teeth and taking a shower and washing your face, probably about 6 to 7 feet away from where you poop. I don't get it. I don't know why that's such a horrible thing. When I was in the military, when you use the head, the stalls had no doors, so you were staring at the guy in front of you, and the showers were like 20 feet in front of you. So if there's someone showering, and you were using the head, how you doing? Nice to meet you. So yeah, I don't want to hear about it. I got no pity. That doesn't make me feel bad for anybody. I got to poop where I brush my teeth. Well, hit Lotto, buy a 35,000 square foot bathroom. You won't have that problem. But welcome to the game, Buttercup. See, I could go off on tangents like this all night. I could go off all night. But I won't. I've actually got notes and things I want to talk about. So let's go pay the bills real quick. We'll come back and we'll go into the grab bag, as I call it. There's different things that go on in the news nationally that I think are either really interesting or make me laugh or make me go, I really don't care about it. But we'll be right back.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
See, that's Alexandra Levine. She's the White House correspondent. She goes to the White House, as you can see, and does stories and covers stuff. Pretty smart lady. She's a fellow tribesman, so she's got that going for her. Then we got Damon the Hammer Galdo, who does his show. Another smart guy. Funny dude. Great show. Does a radio show, too. They're all on America Pulse Network. Check us out. And speaking of that, I wanted to bring up something that Damon didn't remind me of. I was going to get to it later, but I figured to talk to it now. The producer is usually on the show, not on it, but behind the scenes taking care of things for me to make sure I don't make a fool of myself because I don't need any help doing that. Damon Sherrod, his wife is in the hospital, having some pretty bad abdominal pains. And when I talked to him last, they were doing x-rays and looking at some things. So, our prayers and best wishes are going out to him and his wife. I hope everything works out well. I hope it turns out to be nothing serious and she gets to go home tonight or tomorrow and everything goes back to normal for them. I truly hope that. Damon's a good guy. I've talked to his wife once or twice, setting up a show. She's a very nice lady. So I hope this is nothing serious and that, again, no matter what it is, I hope it passes quickly and their life could get back onto what it was before this happened. So say a little prayer for them tonight, and then they can get back to normal. All right, so this is the third segment I call a grab bag. There's a lot of bullcrap going on across the country, and I couldn't just pick out one, hey, let's just talk about this. So there's a bunch of things that I've decided I want to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about, it's not so much a news story, it's more who really cares? But they're making a big deal out of it. I mean, everywhere I look, and once I bring this up, you'll go, oh, yeah, I've heard about that too. Everybody's talking about it, and it's really not that important. So I don't know if you've been made aware of this or you've heard about it. The WNBA game, someone is throwing out dildos onto the court mid-game, causing a little disturbance, and they got to stop and pull the said object away so they can play. From my understanding, when they throw this out, the 20 people that are in attendance at the games are abhorred and the game has to stop and people are upset. And at the end of the day, who really cares? I think it's funny. I really do. I mean, I don't watch basketball. I most definitely don't watch the NWBA. Not that I think it's any less. It's just, I don't care for basketball. Never have. And I remember reading somewhere, I don't know if it was a women's soccer team or a women's basketball team, but they played a high school team and they got beat by the high school boys team. So I don't really care much for the WNBA. There's Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and I think that's only two people I know because that's who they keep shoving in my face every time I look at Facebook or there's something going on in the news. That's the names that get thrown at me. What little bit I know, Angel Reese, I think is from Baltimore, Maryland, and apparently is not a good player at all. Then again, I don't know what would constitute a good player in the WNBA, but apparently she doesn't make the mark, and Caitlin Clark's like the best player or something like that. I don't know. All I know is that someone's throwing out like lime green dildos during games, and I read somewhere that they're thinking about not having fans in the stands when they play the games to make sure this ends. So, like I said, the 20, 30 people that pay to go watch these games might be upset because I don't even think they're on TV. And I don't know. I don't follow basketball. I just know that this should not be as big of a deal as it is. It shouldn't be in my face every time I look on Facebook or listen to it on the news. Nobody cares. It's really a non-issue. I just thought it was funny because I have I guess a demented sense of humor. I mean, I don't know why you would pay to go to a game, pay to have a dildo, and then throw it. It seems like it's a waste of money on the ticket and the dildo. I just don't get it. I mean, I wonder does it mean something? I mean, is there a meaning behind it? Or does this person just have so many dildos that they can afford just to throw them away at every WNBA game they go to? Is it like a gift? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't think anybody does. I mean, I'd like to meet the person who's doing it. Just ask me, dude, why are you doing? Or chick, why are you doing that? Is there a meaning? Or are you just bored and said, hey, what the hell? I'll throw dildos out and see what happens. I mean, I don't know. Don't know. Speaking of dildos, Howard Stern apparently is going to be canceled. They're talking about canceling after his $100 million contract is up at the end of this year. When Trump got elected, I think he said, if you voted for Trump, don't watch my show. So everybody's like, okay, and stop watching the show. And ratings have gone down from what I've read, and that's why they're going to cut him. I will admit, when he first came out, I thought he was funny. I listened to him. He had some pretty good skits, did some funny things. But then again, like Stephen Colbert, when you get political, your range kind of narrows down, and it gets old. It gets old very quick. And he's not funny anymore. I don't even think he's relevant anymore. And I'm not trying to be rude. It's just, Howard, you can ask people like younger people, do you listen to Howard Stern? Who? Who's Howard Stern? He's just not relevant anymore. I don't think he's as funny. I just think he's an angry, bitter dude who just doesn't, like most libs, he sees reality as the way he wants it to be, not as it actually is. And if his idea of what it is and what it actually is doesn't jive, you get this angry, nasty, mean, not funny, kind of old man. DC 101, that was Grease Man. I don't know if you're all familiar with him. The Grease Man was funny man. Very, very funny man. Did say some things that I can understand, got him kicked off the air. I'm not going to bring that up, but he was a funny guy when he was around. Grease Man, yeah, he used to tell some funny stories. Oh, he's a funny guy. Very funny guy. And I believe Grease Man on DC 101 was huge supporter of police. Very big supporter of the police. Not that it makes him any better than anybody, but you would figure like a shock jock wouldn't be, but he was. And yes, Howard Stern wears a wig. I've seen a picture of him without a wig on. He looks like a bear. Have you seen a picture of the bear that's been shaved? It's creepy. It's very creepy. It almost looks like Kathy Griffith if she were bald. And you know how attractive and stunning she is. So there's that. Speaking of soon-to-be has-beens, John Leguizamo. I don't know if you're familiar with who he is. He's an actor. And then there's Dean Cain, who played Superman on TV. I don't know if you've known that, but Dean Cain is trying to become an ICE agent. And John Leguizamo, clinging to what little bit of fame he has left, has called Dean Cain a moron and said his pronouns are has-been. Yeah, John Leguizamo is calling someone a has-been. Hello, pot. My name is Kettle. He's angry that Dean Cain, who played Superman in the 90s, like I said, is joining ICE to support immigration enforcement. That pisses off Johnny. It upsets him. And everybody knows that, if a celebrity's upset, they just can't be like the rest of us and go, oh, well, life goes on. They got to make sure everybody hears them and understands how angry they are. And Dean Kane's a moron. He's a has-been. He wants to uphold the law. I don't, sometimes, Johnny, the best thing to say is nothing. Just shut the fuck up because nobody cares. Oh, apparently Dean Kane has been accepted by ICE, so now he is an ICE agent. I wish him luck and all the other ICE agents and law enforcement who are dealing with that. Best of luck. I can't imagine that's an easy job at this point with everybody shoving cameras and phones in their face. Show us your face. What's your name? Blah, 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 blah. It's getting ridiculous. Like, again, I don't know why anybody would be in law enforcement nowadays. It's just seems like it's not worth the hassle and the disrespect and all the other crap that comes with it when you put that badge on. But God bless the people who are. I mean, I fully support them. I can't imagine what it's like being behind the badge nowadays. It's not like it was when I was growing up. I can guarantee you that. Speaking about law enforcement, this story was brought to my attention by Tim Fazenbaker, who's on Wednesdays on the Pulse, running for county council in Baltimore County, Maryland. If you're there, you can vote for him. Definitely vote for him. Great guy, funny guy. He's got a great head of hair. I don't know if you've ever seen him. Really awesome hair. So says the guy who's going bald. Smart guy, family guy, and just genuinely cares about his constituents and the people in his county. He's not acting. He's definitely one of the good guys. There's a Baltimore judge, Yvette Bryant. Backstory was there's a gentleman who was pro-life in Baltimore, was protesting in abortion clinics. Elderly gentleman. He was attacked by another guy. It's on video, beaten viciously. Excuse me, the same guy who beat him beat another person as well for being pro-life in front of or protesting for pro-life. Judge Yvette Bryant let that man off with no jail time, despite assaulting two elderly people. I think he has home detention or some nothing punishment because that's Baltimore City. And Baltimore City is a cesspool. It's not safe for any law-abiding citizen to be there after the sun sets. Why anybody would want to do business in Baltimore City at this point is beyond me, because apparently judges there don't care about enforcing law. They care about their feelings and what they agree with, and if they don't agree with it, you get in trouble. If they agree with it, you don't get in trouble. Constitution be damned. That's what we should be focusing on. That's what we should be talking about, these politicians, not Trump, but judges that are letting criminals walk free and then having the judges should have to explain, well, why'd you not sentence him to jail? He assaulted viciously two elderly pro-life protesters who were peacefully protesting. Why did you let him off with no jail time? What was the reasoning behind that? Everybody wants to hold police accountable. Well, why did the police officer shoot him or why did the police officer hit him? Let's hold judges to the same standards. Why did you do this? And again, I'm sure if we look at her history, she's probably some bleeding heart liberal that supported Joe Biden and thinks Trump is the evil person. Yeah, Fred Property just said the man was kicked in the face, broke his eye socket, and he's blind on that eye now. So it was a vicious beating. It wasn't like the guy pushed him and shoved him. The guy kicked him in the face. When he was down, he's an elderly person. Hell, I'm old, but I'm not elderly. If you kick me in the face, it's going to break my eye too. But this judge saw nothing wrong with that and let him off with no jail time. Again, I think he got home detention or community, so something that really doesn't teach anybody a lesson after you put somebody in the hospital and you take his eyesight. He just learned, hey, as long as I'm beating a pro-lifer, this judge gets me, I'm fine. Again, if you live in a state where you can, I strongly suggest you carry a weapon legally. Learn to be proficient with the weapon you carry, get a license, carry it, and God forbid, and I hope you never have to, but if you have to use it, use it. I'm not an advocate of violence, but I'm a huge advocate of self-defense. I think if someone is doing this to you, I don't care how old you are. If the guy's kicking you on the ground, you have every right to put a bullet in him. That's just my opinion. If you're walking by and someone's beating an elderly person on the ground and kicking him in the face, I believe you should be able to put a bullet in them too. That's not human behavior. That's not an intelligent person. That's an animal acting like an animal, attacking a human being. And when an animal attacks a human being, you put the animal down. That's the only thing you can do. And I think that you can carry. Learn to defend yourself. Teach your children to defend themselves. There's nothing wrong with children learning to defend themselves. I'm a big supporter of that. I don't care if it's boxing, karate, MMA, Brazilian, whatever class you can get them into, wrestling, something. There's nothing wrong with a child learning to defend themselves at all, especially in this day and age. Obviously, judges aren't going to do the job for you. They're not going to uphold the law. So it falls on the people to defend themselves. Used to say in the Navy, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. I firmly agree with that. I'd rather take my chances with a jury than have my son and loved ones standing over my grave because I was afraid to do something because I might go to jail when it comes to defending myself. So there's that. It's just, we live in a day and age where things happen quickly, very quick. And usually without, like I'm sure this guy didn't even see this dude coming. And all of a sudden, boom, this guy's on him. And it wasn't like they were arguing. It wasn't like there was a reason behind it. Like, the elderly gentleman was giving him the finger or screaming. Not that okays putting your hands on anybody because someone says something. But at least that would kind of explain, okay, well, I guess there was some tension going on. The guy said this, he said that, and then it just blew up. Then you can kind of go, okay, I can almost understand why there was a fight. But this dude wasn't doing anything. Being peaceful about what he was doing, and this moron runs up and attacks him and then attacks somebody else. Stuff happens. It happens in a split second. You have to be situationally aware of what's going on around you. And that's something you have to learn to do actively. Unless you've been in the military or been in a combat zone or been a police officer. It's something you have to actively and knowingly do. Like, where are the exits? How many people are here? What's this guy doing walking up on me? Why is this guy yelling? It's something you have to train yourself to do. And there's nothing wrong with it. Some people might call you paranoid, like, oh, you're just paranoid. Why don't you sit with your back to the door? Why are you always looking around where the exits are? Because crap like this can happen in a second. And it's not so much you're worried about you. You're worried about your family and the people you care about that are with you. That's why you do it. So, yeah, it seems like the crazy people are taking over. And that's because the normal people are, and normal's relative, I understand that. But it's just like the normal people aren't doing anything anymore. It's like we're almost afraid. We're in that fear frame of mind. We're afraid if we do something, we're going to go to jail. We're going to lose our job. We're going to lose our house or something like that's going to happen. So we're afraid to act. And that's by design. That doesn't accidentally happen. That's what they want us to be afraid because they can control you when you're afraid. Oh, we can protect you. You just got to do this, this, and this. But yeah, if you can carry legally in your state, I strongly advise you do it. Strongly. An armed society is a polite society. I firmly agree with that. This is the Howard County Fair. I was there the other day with my son and a friend of mine. It's a good time. I don't know if you've ever been to a county fair where you live. I'm sure they're everywhere, but it's just a fair. That's from the Ferris wheel. It's not as crowded as it has been in the past. I remember being much more crowded than it was. But there were a lot of people there. Still had fun, had a good time, walked around, ate food that I probably shouldn't have ate, all that kind of stuff, spent money I shouldn't have spent. It's a fair. That's what you do at a fair. You do stupid stuff. But I did notice one thing, the teenagers. And no, I'm not some old crusty guy shaking my fist telling kids to get off my grass. I'm not like that at all. But I will say that some of the behavior and attitudes that I saw with younger, like teenagers at the fair were I don't want to say frightening, but were distressing. I'll say that. Girls walk around with shorts so tight, literally, I'm not literally, their lower half of their ass cheeks are hanging out from their shorts. Shirts too tight, they're spilling out. These are teenage girls. Boys walk around with their pants down around their knees, their underwear and ass hanging out, walking around cussing and screaming and just acting the fool. And some of the times the parents were with them when this was going on. And I've never understood that. You're responsible for your children. How they act is a direct reflection upon you as a parent. There's no way around that. If your child acts like that in public, it's because they've seen you act like that in public, or that you condone that and don't correct that behavior. Younger people who do that in public, dress like that, act like that, and talk like that, will grow up to be arrested. They will grow up to be criminals because they have no self-control. They've never been told no. They don't know what it is to function in society. And I always, if you know me, I always err on the side of children. Always. I'm the biggest advocate for kids. But sometimes being an advocate for something means you have to call out bad behavior. And I see it more and more. I have a 15-year-old son, and I'm not saying he's an angel, but he doesn't act like that in public. He doesn't act like that when I'm around. And I'd like to think he doesn't act like that when we're not around, because I've never got a call from anybody that said, hey, your son was acting, doing X, Y, Z while you weren't here. So it always catches me off guard that, people walking with their family and a boy with like his friends will yell, hey, bitch, and parents don't say anything. Or, hey, fuck you, and parents don't say anything. Or like I said, girls 13, 14, 15 walking around in shorts that doesn't cover anything with their parents, and their parents don't say anything. That's what happens when you have parents that want to be friends. That's when you have parents that don't want to be a parent. It's more important to them to be friends with their kids than it is to be a role model and a teacher. And that's not fair to the child, because that parent is setting that child up for failure. Let's be honest. I don't want to say none. Most people like that don't self-correct. Like, they're not going to hit 2022 and go, wow, yeah, I'm a real dickhead. I need to act like I got some sense, start dressing like I have some self-respect, or talk like I got some self-respect. Yeah, I better do that. It's unlikely to happen like that. It does. I'm not saying it doesn't. But that falls back on the parent. That's the parents. That's your sole purpose as a parent. That is it. Feed, clothe, shelter, teach, and guide. That is what you're supposed to do as a parent. Non-negotiable. That doesn't mean like you let things slide because, we're at the, he's with his friends, we're at the fair. No. What's right is right, like I said earlier, what's wrong is wrong. There's never a right time to do something wrong. Never. You don't act like that. Have some self-respect. Now, I'm not saying kids can't be goofy, can't goof off and be stupid. That's part of being a kid. But there's a line. And walking around spilling out of your clothes is crossing that line. Walking around cussing and screaming and insulting people, that crosses that line. That's the line. Before, that's fine. Be goofy, run around, be loud. That's fine. That's what kids do. Let kids be kids. But there's limits. There's limits to everything. Anything in excess is not good. Yes, I am. I am a crusty old man that's shaking my fist and get off my grass. I can see me being like that in a few years, but right now I'm not. Let kids be kids, but guide and teach. You can still have fun in public and goof around and cut it up and not look like a gang member or look like the clothes you bought are for your 2-year-old sister, not for you that you're wearing. You can still have fun. Please don't get me wrong. But if you're one of those parents that don't see a problem with that going on, you need to look in the mirror and do some self-evaluation, because you're wrong. That is not acceptable. Even for adults, that's not acceptable behavior. But when it's teenagers, like 14 and 15 and 13, that is definitely unacceptable behavior. And these are probably the same parents that don't understand why their kids get in trouble so much in school. Well, he doesn't do that to us. Yeah, he does. It's just that you accept it. It's acceptable to you, and you don't think it's a bad thing. But, I'm not the world's parent. It's not my job. All I can do is point out and give you my opinion, and that's my opinion. I don't agree with that. I would correct my son if he did that. And next time my daughter's on here, you can ask her if I played that game. I didn't play that game. Have fun, but be respectful. You can be angry, but you can't be mean. There's rules to everything. Nothing is 100% one way or another. That's just, again, that's how I feel. So yeah, if this is your first time watching, I hope you've enjoyed it. We're getting towards the end of the show here. Remember, there's a bunch of other, not a bunch. Well, there is. We have a new podcast on. I think it's Wednesdays at 6. It's a health podcast. I strongly suggest you give that a check. See if you like it. Listen to what the guy says. He's very smart, man. I watched the last show. You got Damien the Hammer. Has his podcast again. Smart guy, very good. Funny guy, has a radio show too. You can catch that on the internet. Alexandra Levine, she's on during the week, and we're all on Wednesday for the Pulse, but they have their own podcast during the week. Again, very informative. They know what they're talking about. Good shows, fun people, very informative, well worth your time. And then you get me on Sundays at 7:30, buried. And I'm like on the back page of a newspaper, hoping nobody comes. They don't want anybody to see it. Like, I hope nobody gets to that back page because they're going to see that crap, and then we're going to lose them. But you have me on Sundays, every Sunday at 7. Well, not every. Of course, there'll be times when I'm off and all that, but Sundays at 7. And then I'm on Wednesdays on the Pulse at 8. And again, that's me, Damon, Alexander, sometimes Tim Fazenbaker, then you have Elena Barbera, or other people. A lot of other people can be on there. Scott, who's a retired Army colonel, I believe, lieutenant colonel. He's on there. Smart guy. We have a bunch of other people. And if I forget your name, don't take it personal. Really, don't. I got a hard time remembering what time I got to get up to be at work in the morning. So if I forget your name, it's not personal. Trust me. If it were personal, I'd remember your name and have something to say. So if I'm forgetting your name, it's not personal. But yeah, check out all the shows on the America's Pulse Network. They're all good. They're really good shows, good people. And if it's something you're interested in advertising on America's Pulse Network or in one of these individual shows, again, all you have to do is go to the website and, excuse me, or reach out to Damon Sherrod when he gets back, and he can help you with that. There you go, AmericaPulseNetwork.com, and click on sponsorship, and then you can fill out the form and submit, and that all goes to the right people. But yeah, again, our producer's wife, Damon Sherrod's wife, is in the hospital, so we're all, sending her good thoughts and prayers her way, hoping it turns out to be nothing. And I'm sure it will be. I'm confident that she'll be home soon, and that's how it should be. Nobody wants to be in the hospital. Trust me, I was in the hospital for 2.5 months straight. It ain't fun. Nobody wants to be there. Even if you got to be there, you don't want to be there. Like, I had to be there. I didn't want to be there. But keep them in your prayers, and we're wishing her a speedy recovery. Well, it's about that time, and if you've watched the show before, I like to give my opinion on something. And it's just my opinion. It doesn't reflect it. The network doesn't reflect any of the podcasters. It reflects me and my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You can tell me to kick rocks, laugh at me, tell me I'm stupid, or hey, I agree with you. But it's up to you. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not here to make you think the way I think. I'm just sharing my opinion. And sometimes it has something to do with the show. Sometimes it doesn't. This particular opinion I wrote kind of falls in line with, some of the show, but not all of it. But let me read it to you, and then we'll go from there. The problem is you think you have time. Life is a runaway train, hurtling forward at a pace that feels both exhilarating and terrifying. One moment you're a child, chasing lightning bugs under a summer sky, certain that the world will wait for you to grow up. The next, you're staring at a calendar filled with obligations, wondering how you got here, how the years slip through your hands like sand. It's not just that time moves fast, it's that it moves without permission, indifferent to your plans, your dreams, or the moments you thought you'd hold on to forever. And in that relentless rush, it's so easy to lose sight of what's truly important. We fill our day with noise. Deadlines loom, notifications ping, and the world screams at us to keep up, to achieve more, to be more, to do more, to make more. We chase promotions, bigger houses, better cars, or the fleeting validation of a screen. We tell ourselves we'll slow down later, that we'll make time for the people we love, the passions we've shelved, the dreams we've tucked away. But later is a thief. It creeps up, stealing moments you didn't realize were precious until they're gone. The coffee dates you postponed, the phone calls you meant to make, The quiet evenings you traded for another late night at work. They pile up, and then suddenly you're looking back, haunted by the things you didn't do. What's important isn't the clutter we accumulate or the milestones we're told to chase. It's the fragile, fleeting things we often take for granted. It's the way your child's hand fits in yours, trusting and warm before they grow too old to hold on to it anymore. It's the sound of your mother's laugh, the kind that carries stories of your childhood in its cadence. It's the late night talks with a friend who knows your soul, the ones that leave you feeling less alone in the world. It's the courage to say, I'm sorry, before a grudge festers, or I love you before it's too late. These are the threads that weave a life worth living, the ones that linger in your heart long after the noise fades. I think of my own life, of the moments I've let slip, the times I chose a deadline over a walk with my partner, or scrolled through a phone instead of listening to a story my father was telling. I think of friends I haven't called, the trips I didn't take, the dreams I put on hold because I thought there'd be time. And I realize now that time is the one thing we can't borrow, can't earn back, and can't reclaim. Every second that passes is a piece of your story gone, and no amount of regret can rewrite it. But there's beauty in this. God's call to wake up, to choose deliberately, to know what matters before it's out of reach. It's not about abandoning ambition or ignoring responsibility. It's about balance, about remembering that life's truest riches aren't measured in dollars or accolades or titles. They're in the people that make your world brighter, the moments that make your heart full, the quiet victories of showing up for what you love. So pause. Look at the people around you. Really look at them. See the way their eyes light up when they talk about something they care about. Listen to their stories, their fears, their dreams, and share your own. Make time for things that ground you, whether it's a walk in the woods, a song that feels like home, or a conversation that leaves you feeling seen. Forgive quickly, love fiercely, and don't be afraid to chase what sets your soul on fire. Life is too short. It's too fragile to spend on anything less than what makes you feel alive. Because here's the heart of it. We don't get to do this twice. The days will keep racing by, and then one day you'll look back, not at the things that you bought or the titles that you've earned, but at the love you gave, the connections you nurtured, the moments you chose to be present for. That's what's important. That's what makes a life. Hold it close before it's gone. And remember, no one in history has ever said while on their deathbed, if I only spent a little more time at the office. Again, that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I just wanted to share that. And I guess I'm talking about that now because school's starting up. And, yesterday my son was in kindergarten. Now he's starting 10th grade. He's going to be driving. I remember when he could barely walk. I'm not the world's greatest parent. I've made mistakes. You can ask my daughter. You can ask my son. But as you get older and that time starts to get shorter and shorter, you start to realize what's important. It's not politics. It's not who's a president. It's not who said what or who got invited to what party or what promotion you got or didn't get. It's being there with the people who care about you. Because let's be honest, wherever you work, if you die today, they're going to have a position listed on Indeed tomorrow before you even get put into the ground. That's how important you are to your job. And I'm not knocking your job. That's how it is. That's just reality. But you need to act accordingly. If you have vacation time, use it. Well, I don't understand people go, I'm going to bank it. No, take that time. It's yours. Use it. Spend time with your family. Spend time with your friends. If your job constantly goes, hey, I need you to work again this Saturday. I need you to work. No, say no. Say no. You get me 45, 50 hours a week. That's what I agreed to. I need time with my family. I don't work for you. I work for my family. Those are my boss. That's who I answer to. That's who I work for. I want to spend time with them. And if you have a job that doesn't understand that, you got the wrong job. There are plenty of jobs out there that understand that family comes first and work with that. And there are plenty of jobs that fully believe that the needs of the business come first. Those are jobs I choose not to work for. I'm not a bum. I put my time in, 45, 50 hours a week. But when my time comes to leave, it is my time. My family time is more important than my work time. And that's all I'm saying. Balance. You got to learn what's important. It's really that simple. Well, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate it. Again, if this is your first time watching, that's cool. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't scare you off. If you have any questions about anything I talked about tonight while I'm on, you can text them or post them here on the chat. Or you can catch me at X at Conservative Seth or Facebook at the Conservative Corner. Ask me anything you want to ask me, and I'll answer you if I can. But just understand, if you ask me a question, I'm going to be honest. So you may not like the answer, but at least you'll know I'm telling you the truth. If you've been here before and you're a pro, you're like a veteran of this show, I appreciate it. That means a lot. It's awesome that you come back time and time again to hang out with me on Sunday nights. Well, again, thanks for hanging out. Remember, Wednesday at 8 on X or Rumble or wherever you watch us, we're going to do the Pulse. That's where we all get together and talk about lots of different things, and everybody gets to give their opinion. But remember, only my opinion matters, and my opinion is always right, regardless of who we're with. No, I'm kidding. Maybe. I don't know. I'm kidding. But thanks again. I really enjoyed coming out and hanging out with you all tonight. And I'll be here Wednesday at 8, and then again next Sunday. And remember, if you live your life on principles and not on a party, you're going to have a pretty good life. It's something that you can be proud of. Everybody have a good evening and have a great work week, and I'll see you Wednesday at 8.